Welcome to No Borders with Brian and Carrie. Today what we are talking about is how we saved 50% of our income to prepare for full-time travel.
Yeah, now this wasn't something we thought about overnight. This was something that was a couple years in the making, and we had to make some conscious decisions on how we were going to save that money and how we were going to get the 50%.
Right. You have to do a lot of discussion before, you don't all of a sudden just go, okay, well, we're going to retire early, or we want to travel full time, or whatever your plan looks like, and then you just go. You really have to do a lot of research and planning previous to that.
Yeah, you can do that if you really want to.
If you want to wing it.
If you want to wing it. And I'm good at winging it, but not when it comes to something like this. I was very careful and very precise on my thinking, and it really started with, okay, we want to do this. How are we going to do it within that budget? So where are we going to go? So we really started researching places that we could go to stay within that budget.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of your first step, right?
Yes.
Is you have to figure out not only where you're going, but so how much of the accommodation is going to cost, how much is the average flight going to cost to get there, traveling around there, what does that cost, the sites, all of that, because you have to figure all that out before you can actually figure out what your monthly budget would look like.
Right, and that even gets right down to what is a beer going to cost, how much is lunch going to cost, all those elements. We did some research on before, like a good year and a half, 2 years before we even jumped into this whole process.
Right, and we knew that there were ways that we could change it. So as far as like lower end places and then higher, you can balance it out. So you're not going to obviously just look at, oh, we're going to Paris and how much is that going to cost us? You really want to almost take a year and put a kind of just tentative plan out there of what a year would look like. So you're going to get your monthly budget, you got to work those flights in, you got to work it all in there to figure out what you're going to need to make this kind of life work.
So now I really think that you need to know your end game. For us, our end game was long term. So we knew we were going to be doing this for quite some time. We didn't exactly know how long. So that just meant we really had to get our finances dialed in beforehand, well beforehand. We cut back on a lot of those extras that you might come to grow accustomed to. We stopped doing because we knew this was going to be long term. If it's only for a year, plan that year out and make sure that you can afford it before you leave.
Right. I mean, you're really thinking through, like you're saying, some are long term, some may just want to go travel for a short period of time. Are you keeping your home? Are you selling your home? Or do you want to be able to come back home and buy another house and start basically over again? For us, that's what it will be, is that we'll probably never buy another home, but we will need to still set up house somewhere again.
We'll need somewhere
you're
to
buying,
live.
you're going to be buying furniture. You're going to be basically, getting all that together again, buying a car again. You have to have also finances figured out for those things as well. It's not just while you're on the road, it has to carry you long term.
So however far you decide to start planning in advance, whether it be 2 years or hopefully 10 years, start planning that budget now. Plan a realistic budget that involves a large amount of savings.
Right. That needs to be your priority. Now, one of the things that you want to do, even a little bit prior to setting that budget, maybe for the month or two prior to it, is you want to track every single expense that you have, everywhere that your pennies are going. Certain things that may seem so minor to you really add up at the end of the month. So by keeping track of all of your expenses through an entire month, you're able to look back and go, wow, I spent this much on, I don't know what it is, going
breakfast.
To the bakery,
this
going
is
to
a great
breakfast,
example,
getting
breakfast,
a beer. Yeah.
Because a breakfast is going to cost $20, $25. I used to do this with some sales buddies of mine. We'd meet every Friday for breakfast. And one day, one of my buddies looked at me and says, I'm spending, over $100 a month on breakfast, and sometimes I have lunch where I could just pack a lunch or eat at home, and it's going to cost me, a tenth of that. So those are just little things that, add up over time that you don't think about.
Yeah, so you really want to track everything, and this is just going to give you a really good idea of where all your money is going, where you can start to cut back, and then start to focus in on how much, what percentage of your money do you want to go into savings every month, because that needs to be the focus.
Now, all those miscellaneous things, that coffee you buy every morning, gifts, just those little things that just seem to come up over and over and over again. which of those things are you willing to cut back on, or can you cut back on?
Yeah, and I think it's important to make sure that you're keeping some of those, making sure to have an element of that in your budget, because obviously you're going to have holidays come up, you're going to have birthdays come up, you're going to want to have a little getaway here and there, small little getaway. You don't want to cut all of those out, but you need to make sure that you've made a category for them so you know how much you have available to spend.
Right. If you cut everything out, you take the joy of life away. You don't want to do that either.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. You're going to burn out on that, and you're just going to start spending all over again. So make sure it's realistic.
Now will be the time that you are adjusting your lifestyle for savings. A lot of time, or majority of Americans seem to spend whatever is coming in. You really need to make a conscious decision that you want to be putting away a really good portion of whatever you have coming in every month, and you have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, you start getting into it. Now you're into it. Now you're kind of having fun with it. You're having fun saving money. Where else can you cut back? What else can you do? Can I get a little bit crazy with this whole thing and cut back to maybe one car?
Yeah, and for us that wasn't a possibility because of the jobs that we had, but for some people that might be an option. One area where we really did cut back is we downsized. We moved in together, and we very easily, when we moved in together, could have upsized, right? Because you're combining both incomes, you're splitting the costs, and we could have gotten a bigger place, but instead we got a smaller place.
We were offered a bigger place in our complex, and we turned it down.
We did.
Yeah. We turned it down because we were probably a good year out from doing what we're doing now, and we knew that. Nobody else knew that, but we knew that. And so that's just one area where we decided, no, we don't want to spend that extra money.
Yeah, and you want to think through any of those monthly memberships that you have. Do you have gym memberships? Do you have memberships to all these different, music platforms, Amazon Prime? It really starts to add up, and really ask yourself which ones you absolutely need. We're in no means saying don't live life. We still had certain things. We still kept our Netflix, which we still have today. We kept Amazon Prime while we were at home because it made sense. So there's certain things you need. We fortunately, well, not fortunately, but during COVID, our gym shut down, and then after that we just never reinstated again, because then we were very much in savings mode, intense savings mode, to get onto the road, and that kind of forced our hand a little. But that's an area where it's expensive.
Yeah, I can guarantee there's some of you out there watching right now that's like, yeah, I should probably cancel that gym membership. I don't go anyway. Or you add up the number of times you do go and how many times, how much it costs you per month. And you're probably spending $8, $10, $12, $15, $20 every time you go, because you don't go very often. Just cancel it and do jumping jacks or something.
We work out at home. It works fine. The other area is, thinking out the whole, we call it our entertainment, right? A lot of people want to meet up with friends all the time, going out to dinner and doing that. We didn't want to give up doing that, but we just changed it a bit. And so instead of meeting for dinner, we'd eat at home, but then we'd meet up for drinks.
Yeah.
So it's still affordable to go do. We're still going out and we're having fun, but we didn't need to eat where we're from, we would have been spending 3 times as much to go out that dinner on top of what we were having for drinks.
I think that annoyed some of our friends, but
that's okay.
That's okay. They got over it. And there's another one that I'm sure that some of you out there are watching and you go, yeah, I need to do this as well, is that storage locker. Storage lockers are expensive. All that junk you have, and it's junk because if it wasn't junk, it wouldn't be in a storage locker somewhere. You don't use it, you don't need it, get rid of it, sell it, make some money. Get rid of that storage locker. Get rid of that storage locker before you start traveling, because when you start traveling, you're gonna wanna use that storage locker even more.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, you don't need it.
Right.
Get rid of the storage locker.
And also start to just limit down all of those purchases. We're all guilty of it. We can sit on Amazon or online shopping. It's very easy. It's like, ooh, that looks kind of cool, or that new appliance for my kitchen or whatever. Really start thinking through the fact that you may not be in that kitchen for much longer. So if you purchase it, you're giving it away or selling it in a year, 2 years, or whatever time frame you're under. Is it really worth it? Do you really need it that badly?
Yeah.
I know we kind of enjoyed how this our purchases turned, our focus on our purchases changed. It was focus on what we needed for travel,
right.
You know, nice luggage or whatever kind of gear that we were going to need for on the road. But yeah, you don't need to buy all that stuff anymore.
I do wish we had an air fryer though. I love those things.
We miss our air fryer.
No,
when
we do
we're
miss
home,
those air fryers. So I guess what we're saying here is embrace the minimalism. Once you get out on the road, you're going to be glad you did. I can guarantee it. Less is more. Start embracing that minimalism now.
I wish honestly that we had like some sound bites of the conversations that we've had with people about minimalist lifestyle on the road, and people that were like us that weren't minimalists, and then they got onto the road and now they love this lifestyle so much of being a minimalist that even when they do settle down eventually somewhere, they'll still live very much that minimalist lifestyle.
Yes, they will probably buy an air fryer. But
we will buy an air fryer eventually.
But other than that, they're glad that they got rid of everything, just as we are.
There are so many benefits to decluttering your space and living with less. And I think for us, like I mentioned before, when you think of that purchase that you're going to be buying, start to really think of it in a different way. Like, do I really need this? I know that when I have mentioned to people about my kitchen, when I got rid of everything that I had in my kitchen, and I'm looking at all these varieties of casserole dishes and varieties of just dishes and serving dishes and every kind of appliance that you could possibly have, I look forward to the day eventually when we do settle down and I go and we just purchase what we need. When you live in short-term rentals, you very much get used to living with just the minimal end of things.
Yeah.
And it's at first can be kind of annoying. It's like, well, where's this? Where's that? You make it do, and it's really nice. So just kind of embrace that, declutter your space, get rid of things, stop buying new stuff. Now, another way that you can bulk up that savings, if you you're listening to what we're saying, you're like, hey, I don't have a lot of extra income after I'm paying my bills. We get it.
Yes.
You could also look for another stream of income, be it a side hustle or a second job, part-time job, whatever you need to do, and that really bulks it up.
It really does. I knew a guy who was a school teacher. He's quite a bit younger than I was, but he's about 25 years old, single, elementary school teacher. He still likes to go out on his Fridays and Saturday nights and meet with his friends and have a few beers. Every Saturday afternoon, he would Uber. He was an Uber driver, and he would make enough money that day to go out that night. So basically, he was going out, meeting with his friends, and the way he looked at it, for free, because that's what he was doing it for. He wasn't doing it for extra savings. He was doing it so he wouldn't spend extra money.
There's so many opportunities now that don't require necessarily a set schedule. Like you're able to set your schedule, decide when it works for you to work, how long you want to work. That I think that, going back now, we may be like, hey, let's go ahead and do this. At the time, we just didn't feel that we had the extra time to do it.
Automated savings is another great way to save a little money. Decide what it is that you can afford no matter what it is. If it's $5, it's $5. If you don't have it, you don't see it, you don't spend it. Have that just go right into a savings account. Yeah,
that automatic savings, that kind of out of sight, out of mind is really the way to do it, because I know at the end of the month, if you're to sit there and look and be like, ooh, this is how much I have left, that idea of putting it all the way into savings, sometimes you'd be like, oh, but I could go get this or I could whatever. Just having it done. So both of us had set up with our employers to have the max amount that we could taken out of our checks and put either into our investments or into a savings account, be it matched. You always want to max out whatever your company is going to match for you, but make sure you just set it up as an automatic savings.
Never saw it, never had it until now.
In order to stay on track, one of the things you for sure want to make sure that you have done is set up an emergency fund. You kind of want to do this in the beginning so that nothing that comes up, be it smaller or a little bit larger, is not going to throw you off track.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught with your pants down. That's what they say. Make sure you have that emergency fund in place.
Yeah, and the beauty of emergency fund is you've set that money aside. It's not like it forever is gone and staying. It's just there. It's in another savings account, but it's money that is not going to you're not having to draw it out of investment accounts or something to cover expenses that came up. You'll kind of have that money ready to go in case there is something like you had a computer break. You know, you have to replace that. It didn't set you backwards because you're not drawing out of investments or anything. You just kind of have that fund ready to go.
It was a gut shot, but I did have that reserve fund that I could use for that computer.
Yeah, and when you then are ready to full-time travel, that emergency fund can either be drawn out and put into your investments or leave it in your emergency fund because you still need those when you are on the road traveling.
So I can promise you this, once you start doing this, once you start finding all these different ways that you can cut back, it becomes motivating. You become excited about it, and you find more ways to cut back, and the ball starts rolling. And then you start thinking, man, maybe I can travel sooner or travel further. It's a real thing.
Yeah, and I think when you start to track that progress and you start to see that savings grow, like you said, that motivation is there, and then you might find other ways. Maybe you at first were thinking, I don't want that second job, or I don't want to do a side hustle. But when you start to see the savings grow and you want to see them grow faster, the motivation to maybe go get that might be a little bit more so. Also make sure during all of this savings, you're keeping track of everything, you're really on track getting everything going. Have fun as well. Because it can be, you know, especially if you're looking at this very long term. For us, it was short term. So, you know, we did still go on a couple little getaways, but they were small. You know, we weren't going international. We didn't have really expensive flights. But you still want to kind of treat yourself with some things because, once again, that motivation, if you don't kind of, I don't know, keep yourself on track as far as, okay, we get to celebrate this milestone a little bit, it can, I don't know, it can get daunting.
Well, we even do that now. We're going to take a little vacation here or there. Now, I know we're not always 100% on vacation, so we do try and treat ourselves every once in a while. And when that moment is over, we're back on track. And we're motivated to get back on track. And I think you will be too.
We hope that this just kind of gave you some ideas, sharing kind of our plan, how we did it, that you'll be able to look at your finances and hopefully get things started, figure out the areas where you can save, and I don't know, just add more money to the pile and make the travels come sooner than later.
Yeah, hopefully we motivated you to get your act together and start saving money so you can travel. It's something that's addicting. Once you start doing it, you won't be able to stop.
Well, if you'd like to find us on other social networks, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Brian and Carrie. And then you can also find us on our website, which is brianandcarrietravels.com, where we have a lot of free resources for you. And also make sure and get signed up for our weekly newsletter. It is just a newsletter that comes out, like I said, once a week. I'm not going to spam your inbox. And it just has some great travel tips in it for you.
All those links are below. Check them out. Thumbs up. We'd love for you to subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.